So today we have a very important topic that I want to talk about, dealing with this idea of representation, equity, and just visibility. We have Beverly Tese, the co-founder of Prizma, talking about these very particular issues on National Coming Out Day. And so without any further ado, Beverly.
Hi.
Yay!
Good afternoon. I think it's me. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. I like that there's only a couple of you because it makes me a lot less nervous. I have definitely spoken quite a bit, but normally it has been my counterpart, the other co-founder of the center, but he has recently passed away. So today is actually going to be my first go solo. So bear with me if I get a little emotional because I will be talking about him as well. So today what we're going to be discussing is representation in regards to LGBTQ plus identities in society and such. So I did just a general Google search of what representation means. First one came up, the description or portrayal of someone or something in a particular way or as being of a certain nature. Second one, you can describe a picture, model, or statue of a person or thing as a representation of them. So that's when you connect to something or someone else that reminds you of yourself. The participation of people from groups who have historically been excluded or discriminated against. There's a whole list of people that are included in that group, obviously for a multitude of reasons. So this idea of representation is something, especially in regards to LGBTQ identities. If you think about it in the timeline of history, is quite relatively new, okay? So there are historical representations that we learn about now because we have scholars in different areas of the world who've done research to try and find representation for demographics of people who haven't been represented before. Here are some examples. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you would like a copy of the slideshow, I think there's like 5 slides, I can send it to you. It goes as far back as Plato's Symposium, Homer's Iliad. So that is historical documentations. We have the term lesbian was used for the first time in a medical journal in 1883. And then we have some older films that were discussed. Charlie Chaplin, black and white film, that's a good noted one. If you haven't seen any of these and you're interested in learning more about them, I would definitely look up some of these films because even back then it was kind of like, sometimes it wasn't as apparent as it is in today's media, right? Some older people who have kind of pushed civil rights and those types of things. I have a list here. So Sylvia Rivera, they were very involved when it came to the Stonewall. They were a trans activist. Okay. We also have Harvey Milk. He was an openly gay elected official in California who had lost his life while he was a politician. Sally Kay Ride, she is one that's not talked about as often when you look up history, but she was a lesbian and was one of the first women to travel to space. If you're taking any classes with Celia, she has spoken about Audre Lorde and Frida Kahlo, both of those people, very involved. Frida's sexuality and stuff wasn't really discovered until much later on after, when people really started diving into like who she was when her work started becoming more famous after she passed. And a big one that I like to talk about, which is usually in the background, is Bayard Rustin. So he actually worked with people like Martin Luther King Jr. So he was on the backside helping move forward the civil rights in regards to, African American, those types of things. But he also brought in, gay rights during that time and spoke to him about that. And it wasn't as widely popular or talked about during the civil rights movement for African Americans and people of color, but it was still in there. So now, because of the work and because of the art and because of the literature and because of the media from before and the way things have shifted, especially here in the United States, we have a lot more well-known media figures. Do you guys recognize any of these people? Right? At least one? Yeah, I definitely recognize a few, especially our more local here. So we have Kuleana. I have had the pleasure of working beside her, meeting her and just hearing her speak, and she's absolutely amazing. Another local person is Kim Coco. She's a politician based on Oahu, but she is always open to communication here. So those are actually two really good resources that if you reached out to them, they'd be more than willing to speak to you regarding LGBTQ rights, trans rights, those types of things. So representation that we see now is not the same, obviously, as what people have seen before. When I brought up in the first slide, literature and art and movies that kind of touched on queer identities, we still find that some of the things that were hidden are coming out now, right? Like we can find pictures of gay and lesbian couples during, the world wars, when people are coming home, or you have women who used to dress as men that did identify as lesbian, but only did so that they would be safe in their relationship with their spouse. You even had women who dressed up and portrayed a male figure so that they could actually attend war, right? And kind of like the tale of Mulan, right? That's historically what happened, but that happened a lot more in the United States than what people actually thought, okay? So for me, representation is important because where I grew up in a very, very tiny town in Arizona. It was a drive-through little baby town, and I didn't have, all these people were not out when I was a kid, which sounds crazy because now that makes me feel old, but it's fine. So when I was younger, I had to kind of deep dive. I took the risk in my high school library where we had like 5 computers right in the middle, and you could search the types of books that you were looking for. And I actually had the nerve to type in lesbian to see if we had anything. And I found one book in the entire library. It was called Bittersweet. And it really changed me, being able to read something that I was like, wow, this isn't just something that doesn't happen. Like, this is actually a thing. Like, this isn't bad. And then as I aged in high school, I pushed to try and get a GSA. That definitely did not happen. The town that I came from, they actually just held their first Pride, I think within the last 5 years, and I was able to attend. It was quite the achievement. So if you think about like seeing all of these people portrayed in media, they're talking about, being openly queer, being openly bisexual, or being married for 20 years, or, it airing on TV, or recent cartoon. Have you guys seen Buzz Lightyear? Where I was screaming in my living room. I actually chose to not watch it with my children. I have two kids. I chose to watch it by myself late at night in my living room because I had heard there was such this controversy that they showed a queer couple, and I was waiting for it because I didn't look it up to see where it was. And when I found it, I legitimately was, when I say I was screaming in my living room, I called my girlfriend and I was crying. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. This is on my TV. And it feels kind of invigorating, right? Especially when it's something that, had I seen that as a kid, I don't think I would have felt as out of place. And so the representation that I now hold as an adult it's a joke where I'm a walking rainbow. It is the only reason why I wear bright glasses. I have rainbow tattooed on me, my shoes, generally in a pride t-shirt if I'm not at work for the county or doing something more official. I still look like this at my kids' school, elementary school events. I'm on the PTSA board at my son's high school. I've been very open. And the reason I do that is because I want to be the person that I needed when I was a kid. I want to be the person that other adults need now, right? Because even though we have this more representation in media, in art, in the news, online, there are places still, even here, where it's not widely accepted. People are not out. Their families don't know. I just met a friend of mine. She's in her mid-40s, and she brought her parents here to help her. And her parents don't know that she is queer. They have no idea. And I know how difficult that can be. I struggled growing up with my family and my parents. And even still today when I travel with my partner, depending on where we go, if I go back home or when we visit her home in Texas, sometimes it's difficult. And I think that the more we talk about it, the more we share it, the more we see it, the more we create it. If we just create art and music and blogs or, showing up to things like this, it makes a huge difference. And I don't think that some of us realize how big of a difference it can make for some. But I will give you an example. So my background, I am the co-founder of the Prizma Center, but I was also the president of the Hawaii Island LGBTQ Pride group. They put on the festival and parade and a few other annual events. But a couple years ago, it was actually myself and my counterpart, Greg Lupton. We were manning the flag table. We were breaking someone or the people at the booth. And I had this young person, I would assume maybe 14 years old, 15 at most, come up. I wasn't going to assume their identity. Their, I'm guessing, father, who was the one who was with them, the look on his face, he did not know where he was at, why he was there. There was so much happening because it was at the Pride event. You could just, deer in headlights. He was just following his child around. Where are we going now? Do I interact with people? I don't know. So their child came up to the table. We had these bins. I think we had 6 bins of different flags, representative flags of different identities, lesbian, queer, pan, bi, you name it, we have it. And they're flipping through and flipping through and flipping through. And they snagged one out. I mean, as if someone was going to steal it from them. Snagged it out and held it up and was like, look, this is it. This is what I was telling you. This is me. This is me. And they're so excited. And they're telling their parent about this. And he kind of looked at them and he looked at it and he looked at us and he was like, okay, we can get that. I don't know what that means, right? I mean, but they were there and they were trying, even in our little town of Hilo. So what ended up happening is I engaged with the child and Greg took the parent with him, just to the side a little bit. He gave him a crash course in education on what the flag meant, why it's important. They're a great example of a parent for coming in here because we could tell that they were scared out of their mind. And I was speaking to the kid and they had expressed to me, they're like, I really didn't think that he was going to come with me. I really thought that I wasn't going to be able to come this year. And I wanted to come last year, but I didn't because I didn't ask. I didn't ask because I didn't want him to be mad. And I'm just like, that feeling of fear to tell the people that you love so much that you want to go to this event so that you can kind of feel a little fulfill that excitement. And as I finished interacting with the child and Greg had brought over their parent, it was a completely different dynamic after that moment, right? They took the plastic off, grabbed that flag and flung it over and wore it like a cape. And when they walked off, their guardian parent, dad, whomever it was, didn't look so scared. Like, they were so relieved, I think, to finally have had someone speak to them in such a setting where I don't think they were really being talked to during the event as they were walking around, whatever they were doing. And so if I can convey anything to you is that, especially on National Coming Out Day, if you feel safe, if you feel comfortable, and you're not out, and you need help with those conversations, reach out to somebody. Ask them for guidance. Talk to them about the way you're feeling. If you're already out and you feel safe and you're comfortable, talk about it. Do the brave thing. Wear something bright. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the rainbows, the clash, it's so blah. I do not match head to toe, and that is just what it is. But I have, since I've started being a walking rainbow, had so many people come up to me. And it doesn't even have to be a long interaction because I love the glasses. Thank you for wearing that. I love your shoes. Where did you get them? Or they see myself and my partner out with my children or at an event, and they came up and were like, we are so glad that you guys are here and that you're just you, right? And when that happens, it almost feels a little bit emotional. But that is why representation is so important. Because I can walk around in a grocery store and see a younger person who may not be out, but you can tell they're family and they kind of look at you, like they're trying to stay with your family, but they look at you and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's okay. Look at what is happening over here. And the reason I know what that look is because I used to do it. So the people in my life that have made a huge impact in regards to representation would be the late Greg Lupton, who was on the board with me for Pride, helped me open up the center, and who was a father figure and a grandfather figure in my children's life. Another person who passed away more recently is my dear friend, Chrissy Benders. She left her wife, who I'm going to see after this event to say hello to and help her get her funeral arrangements together. Just know that it's the little itty-bitty things of representation that'll make a difference in anyone's life. The impact that I have from remembering that book in high school, the name of that book, so much so that last year, the only thing I can remember was what the cover looked like, the color, and there was this flower, and they talked about being a lesbian, and it was another girl, I think they were younger, you know, it was a young reading book or whatever, so they were probably a young adult in the story, but I could not for the life of me remember the name of the book to find it because I wanted to share it with my partner and my older son because we were talking about last year around this time, National Coming Out Day and why it's important and yada, yada, yada. I actually contacted our local library, the Hilo library. I spoke to a librarian and said, I don't know the title, I don't know the author, the only thing I know is what the book cover looked like and a general idea of what it was about. And 2 months later, after I spoken to her, I never thought I'd hear anything again. I got an email, and she found the book. And that's how I remember, especially now, it was called Bittersweet. I ordered that thing so fast, I have it actually sitting at my shelf at work in the county. I work for Council Chair Kimball, and on my breaks, I'll kind of just read it. I don't read it front to back. I just open it and read it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I do. Do I remember that? Like, what was I feeling? And I think I am so close to trying to reminisce about how I was feeling or being representative, just because I know how important it is, especially in our tiny town here in Hilo. So I think that's kind of where I'm gonna end with the speaking portion, but I do have some breakout questions that I want you guys to consider that we can discuss. I'm not sure what the layout of that is. Do I just show the questions and then they, or do we do it as a group since there's?
I think we could do it as a group because it's small enough to do that. So let's go ahead and talk about it as a group. Maybe if we can rearrange the chairs so we sit in a circle, that'd be perfect.